But Donald Trump will do anything to get reelected, including violating the most basic forms of democracy. It's stunning and it's dangerous because it directly threatens our democracy. This is not hyperbole. It's a fact. No president in American history has ever dared to engage in such unimaginable behavior. With his words and his actions, President Trump has indicted himself. By obstructing justice, refusing to comply with the congressional inquiry, he's already convicted himself. In full view of the world and the American people, Donald Trump has violated his oath of office, betrayed this nation, and committed impeachable acts.
To the catastrophe that is the Biden presidency. Even his most enthusiastic supporters in the media can no longer hide the pure incompetence and malice of this cognitively impaired joke of a leader.
Thank you. May God bless you all, and may God protect his troops and all those standing watch for America. We have so much to do. It's within our capacity to do it. We just have to remain steadfast. Steadfast. We will complete our mission, and we will continue after our troops have withdrawn to find means by which we can find any American who wishes to get out of Afghanistan. We will find them and we will get them out. Ladies and gentlemen, they gave me a list here. The first person I was instructed to call on was Kelly O'Donnell of NBC.
He couldn't even deliver a coherent, prepared statement for a minute. And he blurts out that he has to go to the person he was instructed to call on. This is the leader of the free world. They tell him who to call on. This is how he runs press conferences, even today, reading from an auto cue and answering questions from pre-approved selected media who have submitted their questions. The bulk of the mainstream media are complicit in this disastrous presidency. They refuse to cover Biden's obvious mental decline during the campaign, refuse to cover the Biden file stories concerning his family's dodgy dealings with China, the Ukraine and other places. And to this day, they give him and his inept administration soft coverage, even as it loses control of the country's southern border, sees inflation soar, and creates a host of energy supply issues. But back to the botched Afghanistan withdrawal. Biden's weakness and poor judgment has led to this carnage. He owns this catastrophe completely. He has botched every element of this withdrawal. The latest disastrous incident saw 13 service members and many more Afghans killed in a possible Islamic State terror attack in the Afghan capital. Officials say at least 60 people have been killed in suicide bombings outside Kabul's Hamid Karzai International Airport.
Read to you what is so painful for me and so many other Afghan veterans who served in that capacity, others who served as a part of the train, advise, and assist, equip effort in helping the Afghans. We now know that due to the negligence of this administration, the Taliban now has access to over $85 billion worth of American military equipment. That includes 75,000 vehicles, over 200 airplanes and helicopters, over 600,000 small arms and light weapons. The Taliban now has more Black Hawk helicopters than 85% of the countries in the world. But they don't just have weapons. They also have night vision goggles, body armor, medical supplies, and unfathomable to me and so many others is that the Taliban now has biometric devices, which have the fingerprints, eye scans, and the biographical information of the Afghans who helped us over the last 20 years. And here's what we just learned again in the briefing that we just walked out of, is this administration still has no plan to get this military equipment or these supplies back.
That was Jim Banks, a member of the US House of Representatives. Yes, the Taliban has access to tens of billions of American military equipment, plus they also have fingerprints, eye scans and biographical data of Afghans who helped us, who helped the Allies. How did that happen? Well, this is Politico's explanation. They report US officials in Kabul gave the Taliban a list of names of American citizens, green card holders and Afghan allies to grant entry into the military-controlled outer perimeter of the city's airport, a choice that's prompted outrage behind the scenes from lawmakers and military officials. One defence official said, basically, they just put all those Afghans on a kill list. giving Islamic extremists who chant death to America the names of American citizens, green card holders and Afghan allies. Can you think of anything more insane than that? Let's look at how Biden reacts here when a journo asks, what will you do if Americans are still in Afghanistan after the deadline?
They're still in Afghanistan after the deadline. What will you do if Americans are still there after the deadline?
He smiles and mutters something before the White House wisely cuts the audio feed. We won't know what he said unless you can read lips. Elections have consequences, and Americans are seeing just how disastrous those consequences can be.
Well, the US Senator has suggested that President Joe Biden be impeached over his handling of the Afghanistan withdrawal. The White House has promised a full review once evacuations in Kabul are complete.
On Capitol Hill, Afghanistan's fall to Taliban rule has lawmakers calling for answers. The chair of the Senate Armed Services Committee pledged to hold hearings to investigate what went wrong, saying, quote, "This is not a Democratic or a Republican problem. These failures have been manifesting over 4 presidential administrations of both political parties."
I've been trying to tell our government for years that this was coming. We sent them plan after plan on how to evacuate these people. Nobody listened to us.
Republicans blame President Biden, saying the chaotic scenes and hasty evacuations could have been avoided with better planning to withdraw U.S. troops. The chair of the Senate GOP campaign arm on Twitter raised the prospect of using the 25th Amendment to remove President Biden from office, questioning if the president was, quote, capable of discharging the duties of his office.
This administration looks to me like it couldn't organize a 2-car funeral.
Meantime, the White House held its first news briefing since Kabul's fall.
Yes, there were chaotic scenes yesterday, but as Admiral Kirby said, even well-drawn plans don't survive first contact with reality, and they require adjustments, and we've made those adjustments.
Given the Taliban was able to take over the country more quickly than the president expected, the White House says it will do a hot wash once evacuations are completed to review what could have been done differently.
President Biden receiving fierce backlash from both parties after the deadly attack in Kabul yesterday that left 13 U.S. service members dead and over 160 Afghans dead as well. Joining us now to discuss the criticism, Fox News contributors Jason Chaffetz and Liz Peek. Good to see you both. Jason, there is actually a growing list of congressmen and senators who are calling for President Biden's resignation or impeachment. Does this go anywhere?
I think it has to. I think that the country is irate. I think the president told us about less than 50 days ago that this would not happen. He said he planned for every contingency, that the chaos was built into this. And now you have 13 of America's best in the military that are dead. There are going to be an untold number of people left behind. The president doesn't have a plan. His plan thus far has cost American lives. And I think there are going to be people on both sides of the aisle that are going to call for the president's resignation. And I think there will be those that will attempt to impeach him, even though the Democrats have both sides of the chamber, both the Senate and the House.
But, Liz, you know, the administration thinks they have time to wait it out before the next. I know they would never say that publicly, but this is what we're hearing, that, in fact, they think by the time 2022 comes around and certainly 2024, this will be a distant memory in the minds of voters. I really don't think so. If that's their calculation, I think they're making a huge mistake. What do you think?
I agree with you 100%, David. Americans are not going to forget this. And by the way, the final chapter has not been written. This could go on for months with horrifying stories and videos of people being hunted down by the Taliban or ISIS or whoever and killed. And this is all on Joe Biden. But here's frankly, I find that whole political calculus that Americans are going to lose interest unbelievably offensive after the terrible losses that we've had. Here's the real problem for Democrats. Joe Biden resigns. Who moves into the Oval Office? Kamala Harris. And Democrats are finding out that she is a terrible candidate. She's not a leader. People don't like her. Her approval ratings are terrible. So there's no political exit strategy here, David.
So, Marjorie, one of our first meetings, I don't even think the ink was dry on your election certificate. And without an appointment, you barged into my office, threw everyone out, sat down, looked me dead in the eye and said, "We have to impeach Joe Biden." How did you know so early?
Well, you know, there's a certain guy named Tony Bobulinski that popped back in the news today. You guys remember him? Yeah, well, I talked to him a good bit before I made it to Congress, and we all know Joe Biden is corrupt, right? And Matt knows me really well. Yes, I do have articles of impeachment drawn up to submit tomorrow.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Joe Biden. Happy birthday, Sleepy Joe. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Joe Biden. Happy birthday, Sleepy Joe.